Well, greetings, variants from across the multiverse. This is Geekverse Reactions presented by Mando Talk. And I'm telling you what, I am so thankful to be back in the saddle again, yet again with DJ Foster at Rebel Scum Texan. How's it going, DJ? Long time seeing, my brother.
I know, man. It was weird to not hop on at all for me last week.
Yeah.
But I will say it was a welcomed break. But I missed talking because it was a dangerous week to take off. We knew DC Fandome was coming, and who knew else what it was coming. But at the same time, it was nice because I got to sit down yesterday and just kind of type all our notes out and get everything ready for tonight. So I'm just glad to be back. I think it was Tony Stark's first line in like Iron Man 2. He goes, "Oh, it's good to be back." And so I'm feeling like Tony Stark right now.
It is good to be back. I think it was all day I've had the line, some Star Wars character that says good to be back, or so good to have you back. It's Captain Phasma in Last Jedi.
Oh,
so good to have you back. Yeah.
So good to have
that line's been in my head all day.
I thought you were going to go with Jar Jar and be like, "We so back."
that too. But I'm so thankful to be here. I'm thankful to have this new little setup that I have. It is kind of bittersweet, though. A lot of memories happened at that original studio where Mando Talk first kicked off, and thankfully we had YouTube where we were able to get our listeners to be in that room with us. We used to do like wide-angled shots to where you were in the room, basically. So it is sad. It's still sad for me that we left that original place, but there's going to be some great memories made here, so I can't wait to do that. And it is a jam-packed show tonight for this Geekverse Reactions episode where we're pausing on Star Wars conversation. Maybe. We'll see. And talking about everything else in the Geekverse and the fandom.
Yeah.
All across the board. Like, we got Batman, one of our favorite things. We've got The Flash. We've got Marvel. We got Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Indiana Jones.
It's everywhere.
And a little bit of Dune. We're going to talk more about Dune, and boy, oh boy, I can't wait to talk about Dune. But with all that down, DJ, we got a jam-packed show, so let's get to it. I'm going to pass it on to you since, thank you so much for kind of covering that Batman teaser or that trailer reaction.
Oh, yeah.
You did
I
great.
Totally forgot about
it. And you did a great job with the notes this week, so I can't wait to have this conversation with you as we talk about these news pieces. All right, DJ, what do we got?
Well, I totally forgot that I even did a Batman trailer reaction.
Dude, it feels like forever ago.
It does. Like, life, happens and things go on about, normal structure of time. Yeah. We all know how time works. So anyway, speaking of time, not really, but let's kind of go back a few days. I quickly wanted to just mention something that's kind of stopped the world of movies for a moment and talk about this movie Rust that Alec Baldwin is starring in and producing. Well, I'm of the opinion that it'll probably not continue production, but I wanted to, off the top of the show, we wanted to just express how saddened we are to hear about the accidental discharging of a firearm on the set of the film Rust, that upcoming Alec Baldwin picture. It's one of these things that, like, no one ever wants to hear about it. And I know we're kind of starting the show off a little bit of a downer, but I think it's something we really need to remember, because as geeky fans, and I love shoot 'em up movies and all that kind of stuff, but above anything else, I don't think anybody ever wants to see anybody come to harm. And unfortunately, with the investigation happening, trying to determine exactly how Helena Hutchins was killed on that set, the cinematographer for that movie, this is the first you're hearing about it. It's been kind of a big deal over the last week or so, not even really the week, over the weekend. And I just thought, for me, and then I know Caleb feels the same way, we want to just express just our thoughts and our prayers for her family and all those involved with Rust, and the director Joel Souza, who was also hurt, and even Alec Baldwin. I mean, yeah, he fired the weapon. Yeah, he's the executive producer. And yeah, it's kind of comes back on him a little bit. But this is not something anybody ever wants to go through. And accidents like this should never, ever happen on a film set. And like I said, coming from two guys who just love and enjoy movies, and especially movies that involve, like I said, I like to call them shoot 'em ups. That's just how I've always kind of called it. And you don't want to see stuff like that happen. But I just wanted to very briefly say, we're aware of that here at Geekverse at Mando Talk, and we just wanted to kind of say really quickly, we're thinking about them and we're praying for them and all those good things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you nailed it on the head. Thoughts and prayers for sure.
Yeah.
You worded that perfectly. It is an unfortunate situation. I know that investigating is going on, but I'm not one to right now, as we don't know anything, to point fingers and do the blame game.
Sure.
I mean, I just feel for everybody involved with the situation. And yeah, you kind of worded it perfectly. So yeah, I'm glad that we kind of can express this. I know usually we're lighthearted, we're goofing off, having fun.
Typically, yeah.
But, it is one of those situations we probably needed to address at least. So thoughts and prayers to everyone involved with that.
Yeah, that's really all I really wanted to say on it. But as far as, switching back gears, again, we are a very lighthearted podcast, and we definitely want to keep things lighthearted as best as we possibly can. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, I took the week off last week, and it was a dangerous week to take off because we had so much come out about these upcoming universes and multiverses and geekverses, and I got to say Geekverse, but all these things in DC Fandome was one of those things that happened. And I don't know. Do you want me to just go ahead and take this one, or did you want to take it, Caleb?
Do it, man.
I was just trying to.
I just want to listen to you today. It's been so long since I've heard from you.
Nobody has ever said that.
Let's hear it, DJ. Let's hear it.
Nobody ever wants to hear from me. No, well, as far as DC Fandome goes, like I said, a ton of information. I mean, it was like a floodgate of DC related stuff. And I like stuff. I love a lot of stuff, but all these different kind of teasers and little nuggets of information are going on, and we're going to attempt to cover our favorite reveals as quickly as we can, because we do have a stacked show tonight.
Yes, we do. Stacked.
And we absolutely stacks on stacks. So we don't want to go into so many details that we're like, what are we doing here? But let's just go ahead and go with this. I'm going to go right off the top. I got to cover the Batman trailer reaction. If you still haven't seen that, just if you're not listening on, or if you're not watching this on YouTube, go over and check that out.
Yeah.
And a little surprise there at the end for our Batman fans. if you haven't seen it, that was a lot of fun to have do, and I'll leave that. So go check that out over on our YouTube channel. It's very easy to find. Go to Mando Talk and scroll down a little bit. It's right there. Now, Caleb, we've heard my thoughts officially on the Batman trailer. Let's hear your thoughts are. I know you said you want to hear from me, but like you are Mr. Mando Talk. You are
sure.
I mean, you might as well be Mr. Geekverse Reactions. So let's go ahead and hear what you have to say.
Well, like I said off the top, you did a great job of reacting to this thing. This is one of those moments, though, where usually I want you to stick around, but if you have not seen this recent Batman trailer, go watch that real quick and then come back and then keep listening to us. But that Batman trailer, man, I have been thinking about that final shot ever since that trailer came out. I mean, the upside down shot, penguins in the car, flames surrounding Robert Pattinson's Batman. Dude, okay. Colin Farrell as the Penguin.
It's brilliant.
That was the best part of the trailer, honestly, in my opinion. Like, don't get me wrong, Robert Pattinson's Batman looks phenomenal.
Yes.
But Colin Farrell's Penguin, he looks spot on, man.
Well, it's incredible. It's a total difference between what we've seen in Gotham, the TV show, and then also from Batman Returns with Michael Keaton. It's insane, the difference. And I love the fact that we can always, you can insert an actor or a performer into any given character, and they own it.
Yeah.
And I love it when they own, and you're right, Colin Farrell just totally owns the Penguin at this point. He might become the Penguin. Like, there's some people like that's their Batman.
Well, and don't forget there's that HBO Max reported show for the Penguin.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
So maybe they know how special he does as the character.
Yeah.
And they're already
you're on to something.
Knocking down on it. But another thing, I don't know if this was on my part. I didn't know Andy Serkis was in this. I didn't know he was in the Batman.
Yeah, I mean, people who listen to Geekverse and Mando Talk know, especially Geekverse, I love Andy Serkis.
Absolutely. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
And we're going to have some Andy Serkis news to talk about on Thursday.
Yes, we do.
So come back Thursday for that. But anyway, I mean, when I first heard he was cast as Alfred, I was like, perfect. Why haven't we done this already? Was my first thought. Because
that's true.
I mean, I genuinely love Andy Serkis's performing, and I could go on and on as I have many times, but it's great to know that they have somebody to that caliber playing a role that most people would probably say is minor.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't view Alfred that way,
Nah.
but I think some people do. And after watching Gotham for 6 or 7 seasons, however long that was on, I mean, I slowly became an Alfred Pennyworth fan.
Yeah.
And then you look at Michael Caine and the Dark Knight trilogy, and you're like, I wonder if he did all those same things that this Alfred. You know, you start to kind of wonder and think. But anyway, I'm back with what you said. I mean, it's nice to know someone like that is in this movie.
Yeah, for sure. Like the entire cast, talented from top to bottom. I stand by it after I've seen this trailer. I still think this is going to be my absolute favorite Batman portrayal ever.
It's incredible to say, and I'm kind of with you. It's incredible to even think that, because The Dark Knight is the best Batman movie to date.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's because I grew up with it. You know, I don't think it's anything like that. I really genuinely think that it is the best Batman film. And
yeah, I think so too.
And Pattinson is potentially about to blow that out of the water.
Dude,
and that's insane.
I really hope so. Everything that I'm seeing from the posters, from the trailers, from things that the directors and cast and everybody's saying, it's right there. It's down my alley. I can't wait to see this. It's already my most anticipated film for next year. That is, 2022. It's coming out. Yeah, it's in March, I believe. Can't wait to see it. The trailer, phenomenal. I'll just leave it at that because I know we got so much to get to.
It's so fun. Well,
but I've seen it I've watched it so many times. You can't watch it enough.
I haven't seen it but like twice. I've only seen like my reaction. I think I watched it one more time. I want to say this though. There's a possibility that The Batman may be my daughter's first movie.
Hey.
Because my daughter's going to be born into January. I'm going to see the movie, and I bet my wife will want to see it. So, like, we're going to probably end up taking our kid to her first movie, and it's freaking The Batman. I just think that's hilarious.
And arguably the darkest Batman yet, man.
Well, it's a newborn. I mean, what are you going to do? You know?
No, I'm not judging you. I'm just playing.
I know. Nobody's going to judge me for that. Come on. But anyway, back on the DC Fandome train, man. We've got all this crazy stuff that came out. I mean, just to name a few names, maybe you heard of them. Ezra Miller, Dwayne Johnson, Zachary Levi, John Cena, and Jason Momoa, amongst just a few, all gave us some behind-the-scenes looks at The Flash, Black Adam, Shazam 2, the Peacemaker TV show, and Aquaman 2. And honestly, these special looks weren't so much like trailers as they were really just small clips. You know, and I think that they just build more hype for the growing cinematic universe that DC has been working on for really about 10 years. So the fact that, you know, it's coming out the way it is, I'm just kind of like excited to see where it all goes at this point. I think a lot of people were that way kind of after the Avengers movie in 2012. We're like, well, where's Marvel going with this? And I think now we're at a place with DC where we can kind of see those kind of things going on. So, but from these clips, which of them has you the most excited, Caleb?
Oh, by far The Flash. And it's not because The Flash, it's because of the Batman. Like, come on. I still think that's comedic. Like, and also unfortunate because for so long I was one of those that wanted to see a Flash solo film. And here I am getting it, but everyone's talking about Batman and Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton. Like, come on.
That's what happens when you say we're going to do Flashpoint. You know, like we're gonna. So they're like, we're gonna do Flashpoint. I'm like, okay, well, show me Flashpoint. You know, let me see what you're gonna come up with. And having known a little bit about it and seen the animated movie version of Flashpoint, I'm like, are you doing that, or I mean, what are you doing? You know, I want to see what they're gonna pull out. And I'm kind of with you on Flash. Okay. Like, it's not my most anticipated DC project, if I'm being real honest. Aside from The Batman.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to put that aside because at this point, talking about Batman on Geekverse is kind of like talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, I think so. And
I'm like, I need to move it over to the side. So I think, honestly, my most anticipated one is got to be Aquaman 2.
Okay.
I mean,
interesting.
I love Jason Momoa, and it has a little bit to do, I think, the fact that Tamara Morrison is his dad.
Facts.
But I remember all the hype that surrounded the first Aquaman. I was like, I got to see this movie. And having just seen Dune, you know, recency is probably playing effect here. but Jason Momoa kicked tail in Dune, and
he was phenomenal in Dune.
I mean, he was by far. I will say that for later, but
right, we'll save it for later. But he was phenomenal in Dune.
But of this like current Justice League, it's like I have Wonder Woman at the top, and then it's like Aquaman's right there. I mean, I love them both as far as our current Justice League members go. So for me, that's the one I'm really the most excited about. Okay. I think they all look great. I think we would both agree that they all look pretty good.
Yeah.
No, do you disagree?
They look good, but I did have something to say about Black Adam.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
With its little teaser that we were given, don't get me wrong, I'm excited for it. I felt it kind of looked like a fan film sometimes. The shots. I don't know if maybe that's because I was watching it on my phone in a Starbucks because I didn't have Wi-Fi at the time. So that's how I was getting my trailer watching in from DC Fandome. It didn't look to par. I felt that maybe that may have just been me.
Okay.
Maybe it's because I have yet to really watch a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson film that I enjoy. I don't know what it is.
Did you know that he was
that's
the
just my thoughts.
I don't know why I know this, but he was the highest grossing actor of like 2013.
Yeah. No, he's big time. He's big time. He moves the needle. He don't move my needle.
I've never heard anybody say that before.
I don't know if I should have said that because somebody's probably running without.
Oh, that's hilarious! I almost had to mute my mic because I'm about to cough. That's so funny. I've never heard that before. Oh man. Well, listen, DC Fandome gave us all these incredible things. Let's not dwell on this part too much. You guys tell us what your most anticipated DC Fandome related project that they announced by heading over to Discord and hopping in the Geekverse channel. Drop us a little comment in there and tell us which one you're most excited about. Okay, and just a couple more things on this, and then we'll move on into some Marvel news. Okay. And I'll let Caleb take the Marvel news here in just a moment. But I wanted to just throw this in there because I thought it was cool. DC Fandome's viewership tripled from last year. They had 66 million views worldwide this year, whereas the 2020 ones were 2020 it had 22 million viewers. I thought that was insane to say, wow, there's 30 million more people who are out there, or not 30, I'm my math wrong. Whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of people. I'm bad at math. I've said that on here before. I'm so bad at math that when I go out to eat, my wife does the tip for us. I can't do it. But all that to say, for those of you who don't live in America, tipping is when you give just a little extra money to the server, in case you didn't know. And there's a whole reason for that, and we won't go into it. However, I just think it's crazy to think that we had that many more viewers at Fandome in comparison to last year.
Sure.
Caleb, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, my simple answer to that is because everybody knew that a new Batman trailer was coming. I think last year's
you're right.
Last year's Fandome, it was like, oh, cool, that Batman trailer came out during this event that we didn't really know about. Well, this year everybody knew about it because they were saying, oh, you're getting a new trailer during this event, so you might want to just watch the event.
Sure.
So that's probably why those viewers were so high.
Do you think that it's possible that there may be a new rise in like a DC renaissance, like a DC superiority over Marvel because of these things? Or do you think that Marvel's probably going to stay in that mainstream a little while longer?
I think Marvel's going to stay in that lane for a little while longer. But if the Batman is a huge success, I could see it almost evening out a little bit. Okay. But I still think we're a ways away personally.
I think you might be onto something, especially with Batman at the helm, and everybody's willing to kind of go into a multiverse at this point. Mm-hmm. So even maybe a little kind of a Star Wars a little bit's trying to not do that, but like there's like moments and elements where you're like, you're doing a little thing kind of similar to this. But all that to say, I think I agree with you as far as that goes. I think they're going to stay in that limelight. Marvel will for a little while, and DC may overtake that sometime in the future. Mm-hmm. But well, speaking of Marvel, Caleb, why don't you go ahead and hop us on over to the Marvel world.
Yeah, well, DC definitely kind of ruled the week last week because of all the trailers and the teasers and DC Fandome essentially. But we do kind of have some key Marvel news, and then also some speculation and just some conversation, rumors that we could potentially have. So the big news that came from Marvel this past week was that Doctor Strange 2, Thor 4, Black Panther 2, The Marvels, and Ant-Man 3 have all been pushed back. Now, I don't have those dates listed out, but you can go and find those dates. Some of them are like 2 or 3 months. Some of them are almost like half a year. And some of them were even impacted more so, but that wasn't necessarily Marvel, and we'll talk about that film that I'm referencing a little bit later. But it was interesting to kind of get this news. I wasn't expecting a delay. Now, we have kind of discussed, me and DJ off air, some people kind of speculate that it's because that strike thing that happened last week. That's possible. I don't really know. All I know is like the main reporters, I think it originally came from Deadline, were just indicating that Marvel felt they needed more time to produce and they wanted to just space out all of these massive films that they're working on. So, DJ, how do you feel about this news, knowing that these films have been delayed? Where are you kind of at mentally with this?
You know, delays always kind of have that, what are you doing kind of thing. And
sure.
COVID, you know, aside, I feel like, because I don't think this is really COVID related.
I don't think so. Don't think so.
Everything last year, it's like, oh, you delayed it for a year. That's because the world has shut down. That's fine. You know, nobody was, I mean, we were bummed, but like, oh, what are you going to do? You know, so with this, it's kind of different. I am of the opinion that the IATSE strikes have something to do with that.
Okay.
Even though I've looked at reports and you said you've looked at reports, again, off air, it doesn't really say that's why.
Right.
I just kind of have a feeling because the IATSE did cite, hey, we worked for Netflix, Marvel, Amazon. I'm not Marvel. I'm sorry. Netflix, Disney, and, you know, Amazon. And that tells me, okay, it just makes sense. You know, like, I'm not like a conspiracy theorist or anything. I'm just saying it makes sense that you would say, not you, but in general, someone would say, hey, we're going to delay this film and let's just not say it has anything to do with that potential strike. Sure. Because if it does, then now they look bad because they've already resolved the strike. And so I think it has something to do with that. But again, there's nothing really out there that kind of corroborates that. But that's just kind of me putting on the tinfoil hat in my own mind, so to speak. But the one movie that did get pushed back to 2023 was Ant-Man 3, Quantumanium. That's the one that did get pushed back to 2023. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that was what it was. So anyway, that's the only one. All the rest of these still come out next year, which I read 2022 and I'm like, oh, that's like 5 years from now. Like, I just doesn't make any sense in my head that 2022 is like 2 or 3 months from now.
Well, the thing is, we still have so many great movies coming the rest of this year that I hadn't even thought about next year's lineup yet.
No, I haven't either.
So I think that's why it kind of feels like it's so far in the distance, but it's right here.
Well, I keep forgetting that we ever even entered into 2021.
Sure.
I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, we've just gone in this weird time loop situation. I think Doctor Strange is out there with the time stone, actually, you know, moving time around or something. But
yeah.
Regardless, when I hear 2022, I'm like, oh, that's like 6 years. Like I said, it's like forever from now, but it's not. Yeah.
No, it's going to be here, and we're eventually going to see those films again. Doctor Strange 2, Thor 4, Black Panther 2, The Marvels, and Ant-Man 3. They were all delayed, but for me personally, I wasn't like bummed or I didn't think anything negative with that. I just thought, okay, cool. They're just going to bump it back a little bit. In my mind, Marvel always has a plan somehow, some way. In the end, it's going to be what was best. So I'm just going to trust that. But, you know, there's that news piece for those of you. Don't freak out. The sky's not falling. It's all good.
Was it Endgame or Infinity War that they moved up a weekend? One of those two movies got moved up a whole weekend. A month before it released.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I remember Robert Downey Jr. tweeted at Marvel and said, hey, why don't we release it on April 27th instead of whatever the following weekend was, May 4th or May 5th or something like that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was like a whole big thing. Well, for me, it was a big thing. I can't speak for, everybody.
Sure.
I was like, whoa, and April 27th is an important date in my family. That's my parents' wedding anniversary.
There you go.
So I was like, oh, okay, the new Avengers movie comes out on my parents' wedding anniversary. That's why I even remember that.
Yeah.
So let's not forget that sometimes a date moving around is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Whether it's up or back, I mean, I think that there's probably a really legitimate reason that I have yet to see someone say that they've moved these around. But regardless, I'm with you. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not like I'm kind of bummed because it's like, oh, we got to wait a little longer. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
All right. Well, you let us know, those of you out there, if you're listening live, watching on the playback, whatever. Tell us what you think of the Marvel films getting adjusted. Okay, we got some Spider-Man No Way Home news or rumors, speculation, all the above. That's everything going on with this film right now. But from Spider-Man No Way Home, according to, I think this was Tom Holland who said this.
It was.
This is the end of what is now being called, quote unquote, the Homecoming trilogy. So the question here that we have to consider, and I'll give my answer first and then I'll pass it on to DJ. The question is, does this mean we will no longer see Tom Holland as Spider-Man / Peter Parker? My answer is no. I don't want to get into spoilers of why, in case you haven't seen a particular film. So I'll just leave it as he's not done yet. He's not done.
Which film?
I don't know if I want to say. Like, does that give away too much?
It's been a month.
It has been a month. Okay.
I mean,
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. Okay. Because of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, Tom Holland's coming back. I'll leave it at that.
That's fair. Fair enough. That makes sense to me. Fair enough. I mean, I'm with you. I don't think it's the last we'll see of Tom Holland, but like, still, there's this part of me that's like, Sony already kind of played with our emotions once with Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Who's to say they won't do it again? And I just, they know what they have and they're willing to go, oh, you want the ball? You want the ball? Oh, I didn't throw it. Like, you'll play fake fetch with your dog or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what it feels like Sony's done before. And that's kind of a jerk move, if I'm going to be real honest. So there's this part of me that's like, no, I think they'll bring Tom Holland back, but like the negative Nancy in me is like, they're going to just take him away and we're never going to see him again. Like, that's part of what I think. So I guess I'm 50-50. I mean, I guess I'm 50-50.
At the end of the day, here's another take that I just thought of. At the end of the day, it's all about the moolah. If Spider-Man No Way Home is the film that brings movie theaters officially back to that $1 billion box office mark, which I do think that is the one film that does have the potential to do, Tom Holland will be back.
Yeah, I think that's a smart take. I think it's a very smart take. And I hadn't considered the fact that we could venture back into the billions with the B,
with the
because
B.
of that, with a B. And if I was going to type, I don't know. I said something the other day and I was like, with a B. And I was like, why did I don't say that. But anyway, that's such a sidebar about my mindset. I got a weird head, guys.
All good, man. All good.
I think weird stuff and it just, what was that?
What else is going on with No Way Home, DJ?
I mean, as far as No Way Home goes, there's this new report via the Direct saying a new trailer for it won't be ready for the premiere of Eternals. And I had to do a double take on it because when I first read it, I was like, oh, we're getting a new trailer with Eternals. And I failed to read the word not. And I went back and reread it and it says, of course, not. And you're like, well, that's kind of a bummer because like you expect to get a Marvel trailer with a Marvel movie. It didn't matter. Like before, it didn't matter if like, let's say, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a random Marvel character. Let's say there was a Fantastic Four movie that wasn't connected to the MCU. And they say, all right, we're going to put this
to me.
We're going to put this Fantastic Four trailer in front of, I'm going to throw out another random Marvel movie that is in the MCU, Black Widow. Let's make sure this trailer gets out with this film. it doesn't matter that it's not connected. You want your audience to see something that's within that niche group of people.
Right. Well, you want to see what's up next. Like, you're here for this film. Come back next month.
Yes. Yeah, next month you're going to see Fantastic Four, kind of something like that. So the fact that they are not doing that with Eternals, I'm like, listen, I understand there's shutdowns and delays and Hollywood's a mess sometimes and yada, yada, yada. But either this movie is going to be like the most overhyped Marvel movie of all time, or, I mean, it's going to be the greatest Marvel movie of all time. And I'm still of the opinion there's a reason we've gotten so little information about this.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's so hard to say. But anyway, all that to say, there is no trailer. For me, it's kind of a massive downer. Caleb, is it a low-key downer, no downer at all? What do you got on that one?
I think I'm in the minority here of not really wanting or need. I mean, obviously I would take one, but I don't really need another trailer, if I'm being completely honest. Like, I'm there. Okay. I'm showing up. You can play that same trailer in front of Eternals and it'll get me still just as hyped as ever to go see it, to go see No Way Home next month. I know a lot of people out there want to see all three of the Spider-Man revealed in this next trailer. I don't. I want that reveal in the actual film. But I get it. Like, if we're talking about that $1 billion number, you know what's going to get billions of money of people billions of money to get people to go to that movie is to show those three Spider-Man together in the trailer. That will pretty much, in my opinion, potentially guarantee that $1 billion number. So I don't know. We'll see. It's
an odd two-way street. You put them in the trailer, or you wait for the reveal, and you basically what you're doing is you're sacrificing your opening weekend box office numbers.
Yeah. For
the sake of a reveal, so that hoping on the back end you get that return. Mm-hmm. I'm not real good at investing, but I know that's an investment. That's what. So not having the trailer ready for Eternals, maybe them saying that they're like, hey, doesn't matter. When that gets revealed in the movie opening weekend, people are going to lose their minds. And then by the time we get to the weekend number 2, they're going to say, look, we've made this much more than we did opening weekend. I think that could be playing this kind of roulette type of game. Yeah. And it makes sense. But at the same time, I mean, is Marvel willing to risk it to get the biscuit? Right. And that's kind of where I'm not 100%, happy that it's a halfway thing. I don't know. I just want the trailer.
Fair enough.
When I worked at the movie theater like 10 years ago, there was a woman who would come in and her whole job was just to watch movie trailers. So she'd go from theater to theater to watch the movie trailers, and she'd be taking notes on like a clipboard trying to figure out the audience's reactions to the and she always came on a Friday. I don't remember her name, but she looked like the essence of an older lady named Nancy.
Okay.
So like I always called her Nancy, even though I'm pretty sure I knew her name at one point in time. I don't now. Regardless, that was her whole job. So I'm like, can I get that job? Like, I would love to do that on the side. Get a little change on the side, go in the movie theater and watch a couple trailers and take down some notes. Man, it's a good day. That's kind of that's partly why I'm bummed we're not getting this trailer, because I like trailers. They're fun.
Yeah, trailers are very, very fun.
It's like your playlist you listen to on your way to the concert.
Yeah, it is.
It kind of hypes. That's what it is.
It is. It is. We also got something else for Spider-Man, and I'm jumping down a couple spots here in our notes. We got an image from Empire that has kind of made its rounds on the internet of Tom Holland's Spider-Man running away from Doc Ock. Now, in this image,
I haven't seen this.
Doc Ock's tentacles, and it's very clear in this image, are confirmed to be digital in No Way Home instead of large puppets like they were with Alfred Molina back in 2004.
Yeah.
So we were just, first of all, if you haven't seen the image, go look at it. And obviously, DJ, it sounds like you fall into that category.
I didn't know that this image existed. I knew about the puppet not happening, but I didn't know there was an image.
I think if you just type in Spider-Man No Way Home Empire, it pops up.
I'm looking at this right now.
Well, all I'll say is before you get to it, that image, admittedly, it's questionable. It's questionable how Doc Ock looks there in the background, but it's an image of them moving. So I'm not somebody that's just going to freak out as far as the graphics go and how it looks. But that image kind of revealed that it was going to be digital CGI. So, the question's there of how do we feel about that. For me personally, it's not something that I'm going to be too concerned about as I'm going to see Spider-Man No Way Home. I think they've proven that, they have more than enough capabilities to make all of that technology look good. And I have no doubt with how big No Way Home is fixing to be, I have no doubt that they're going to make sure that it looks correct by the time that it's revealed. What do you think about it, DJ? And did you potentially find the image?
I did find the image just this exact second.
Okay.
It's kind of funny because it looks like he's wearing a fedora. I think that's a fedora, which I know traditionally in the comics he did wear a fedora. And then we got one scene in the 2004 Spider-Man with a fedora on. But after that, it was, all right, let's get rid of this. And I get it. It's kind of odd to, especially in 2004, it was just didn't make sense for a grown man to be wearing a fedora. Because my instant thing is if you're wearing a trench coat and B, a fedora to go with it, I automatically don't trust you. I know I'm not supposed to judge people based on the appearances, but if you're wearing a trench coat and the weather doesn't permit it, I'm backing away from you. No offense, unless it's a Comic-Con or something, there's obvious cosplay, I'm out. But all that to say, this is a neat little image. I actually don't really mind that it looks digital, because if somebody told me this was a puppet and they just had a green screen behind it, I'd say cool. I'd believe you. And to me, it's pretty seamless. So I think this is neat. I have no problem with it.
Okay, good. Sweet. Well, that's our Spider-Man No Way Home bit, but I kind of wanted to, and this isn't something that's in our notes, but it's something that's been on my mind and heart, because I've mentioned, obviously Dune was my most anticipated film of the entire year, but Eternals, the movie that we just mentioned with No Way Home potentially and maybe not getting a trailer that goes with it, Eternals is my most anticipated Marvel film for the remainder of this year. But I wanted to kind of discuss the critic reaction of this film so far, because it has made its world premiere. People have seen it. Rotten Tomatoes, here's the current number. Currently on Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score is at a 72%, and that's with 68 reviews. Now, 72 with most movies isn't a bad number.
No.
But I think with Marvel movies, 72 isn't the best.
I mean, it's passing, but it's not.
Sure.
Ain't good.
I have to say, with the things that I've read and the things that people have said, I'm a little bummed by this number. Now, 72 is not enough to convince me of anything. I'm still going to go in super excited and ready to see it. But I did want to mention that, Chloe Zhao, the reigning Oscar Best Director, I was expecting a 98% kind of film with how talented she is. And it was really, interesting to me that I saw 72 pop up whenever I started to see those critic ratings and reviews roll in. And I've also even heard people say there's not a clear-cut main lead. There's a lot going on to where it seems jam-packed. I'm hearing mixed things. Now, obviously 72% is still, most people are going to enjoy it, or most people of those critic ratings did enjoy it. But it's still, it's a little wiggle room that we're not really used to with Marvel films. That it's usually in the upper 80s to 90s range. Mm-hmm. So what do you think, DJ, whenever you hear this?
Well, coming from a guy who lived his life based on a C average report card, I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I mean, my report cards were B's and C's for the most part. And my parents are Geekverse and Mando listeners. They can corroborate that. But
that's awesome.
But at the same time, you're right. I mean, you don't want to see a Marvel movie kind of dip below 80. Even I look at 80, I'm like, that's positive. Here we go. But if I see 79, I'm like, let's back this up. Why do we have a 79? I'm already kind of exercising my future dadness, I feel like. But
there you go. Getting ready.
I am. But at the same time, let's remember critics can be wrong. Okay. And I'm going to cite something. Now, this doesn't necessarily reflect my views of this particular film. I'm just going to bring it up because it's easy and happened recently. The Last Jedi got,
oh boy,
I know, it got insanely good critic reviews.
Yeah, it did. I think it might be one of the highest ones.
And it is. Of the Star Wars films, it's like the highest critically acclaimed Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's right up there. It's like Empire and then Last Jedi. But like you look at it as a fan and as a viewer, and you're kind of, what? You know, like there's a lot in that movie that a lot of people were really upset about. And I, at one point, was upset, and then I wasn't, and then I was again, and now I'm kind of panned out, and like I'm on the fence about it most of the time. But all that to say, the critics were kind of wrong, because like 50% of all Star Wars fans hate that movie.
Yeah, it's 50-50.
You know? And I'm not saying like there's nothing like connected to Eternals. It's like 50% of Marvel fans are going to hate this. Unless they go off and like, I don't know, kill somebody we've already seen die on screen, which would be kind of weird. I don't know. It's the weirdest scenario I can think of.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Critic ratings to me are kind of bogus. I don't go by critics. I go by audience.
Sure.
And I'm one of those people who can watch a movie and love it and love it and love it. And then I'll go and talk to somebody else and they're like, oh, I hated that movie. How? Why? It was fantastic, you know? And they'll be like, oh, it's this reason, this reason. I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of see where you're coming from. But usually I kind of come back around to, it wasn't that bad. So I don't know. This is one's kind of like, I'm not like super stoked on this movie, just to be real honest. Like, I know you're real stoked on it, Caleb, and I know there's a lot of people who are like, oh, yes. But like me, I'm just kind of like, I mean, there's a kid in here that kind of looks like Peter Pan. Angelina Jolie's in here. You got Homeboy from Game of Thrones, and one dude kind of looks like Superman. And I'm like, what is this? It looks like a mixed bag of like trail mix to me. It's like I might get a raisin, I might get an almond. I have no idea what this is.
Well, I think that's a good indication of maybe where the majority of the fan base is with Eternals for sure. I mean, admittedly, I do kind of feel the closer that we're getting to this, I don't know if it's getting marketed that well, or I just don't know if there's a clear cut direction of what to expect. And I think that's why people are kind of on the fence, potentially. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. I think the
marketing is good. Like, I feel like every time I get on Hulu, because I have ads on Hulu.
Oh, okay.
Because I have to be poor in some areas. But, you know, when you look at the ads, I'm like, oh, there's that Marvel or that Eternals ad again. And, oh, they broke the table. That's funny. Like, you know, like, you know, I'm seeing ads and images and things that come across social media, TV and whatnot. Yeah. But it's not like, for me, I don't know if it's lack of marketing per se, much as just like, I'm just not like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like my thing.
Sure.
Is that, I don't know, man, that's just me. I'm not trying to be a downer about it. I'm not super looking forward to it because it's hard to know what to expect.
Yeah. Well, to each their own. But listen, let us know, those of you out there, are you concerned with what you're hearing about Eternals? Are you not worried about it at all? Are you not really that excited for it? Tell us. Let us know. We would love to hear it. DJ, why don't you hit us with these other two Marvel things just real quickly, just to let our fan base know kind of what everything else that's out there in Marvel. DJ, what we got?
Two things. First of all, I'm going to hit this one really quick because it's so small. There's like hardly anything to talk about it with. Sam Jackson has joined the cast of Marvel's Secret Invasion, most likely as Nick Fury. I think we all kind of saw this one coming. I expect to see lots of aliens and some weird pew-pew type laser bolts situations. Sure. I don't really know. And some more changing of faces with Ben Mendelsohn and Sam Jackson playing one another. I don't know, something like that. Caleb, anything to add to that?
Nope, I'm not surprised whatsoever.
Yep, that's kind of makes sense. You know, we love Nick Fury. Let's put him in there. All good. This is kind of the more interesting thing to me. Charlie Cox, better known as Daredevil, Matthew Murdock, and I'm sure you've seen most, if not all, of Daredevil at this point, right, Caleb?
I have not seen a single episode of
Daredevil. Boy, that first season was incredible. Oh man, I could go. There's the hallway scene. Just watch the hallway scene. I'm at a point now where all hallway scenes are just always going to be good from now on. You know, thank you, Vader. Thank you, Luke Skywalker.
Sure.
Thank you, Daredevil. However, not talking about that in its entirety. We could go on and on about hallway scenes. However, Mr. Charlie Cox, aka Daredevil himself, has been quoted as saying, "If it was someone other than me to play Daredevil," he said, "I would go down into my basement, I would find my Daredevil mask, and I would hunt them down, and I would make them fight me for it." this man is very protective of this character, and I like it because he's kind of like, of the two Daredevils we've had, he's kind of like the one who just is like, no, I made this character. And I appreciate that. Like I said earlier, I love it when actors own their characters. Charlie Cox owns this character. So with that being said, Caleb, you've been submitted to the whole world. You have not seen Daredevil, and you need to fix that.
I do.
It's not like you have to watch this. It's like, no, it's really freaking good. Like, you should check it out. But Charlie Cox should return as Daredevil in the MCU. Caleb, true or false?
Well, listen, as somebody that hasn't seen it, I recognize this guy as Daredevil. So, in my opinion, he should stay as that character. If he's that facially recognized as Daredevil, you don't change it. Because somebody like me who hasn't even seen it, why would you confuse that audience and put somebody new in there? That's just my take, so I'm going to say true.
I'm also saying true for the exact same reasons you did. However, are you aware that his audition for Star Wars Episode 7 went south because of Daredevil?
I did not know that information.
Weird story. He was so used to acting like a blind man that when he went to audition for Star Wars, he couldn't get himself to stop acting like a blind man. And he said that Daredevil actually ruined his chance at being in Star Wars. But I will say it's nice to know that he cares so much about Daredevil that it doesn't even seem like he's fazed by missing his chance at Star Wars. Because, you play a character that cool, what's there to be disappointed about?
Sure.
Anyway, that's the Marvel news, y'all.
That's the Marvel news. Well, listen, let's get into some other fandom news, and this is one that me and DJ are very excited for because we grew up with Dr. Jones. And the news is that Indiana Jones 5 release has been pushed back to June of 2023. Now, originally, it was supposed to be this coming July of 2022. So, essentially, this movie is getting an entire year of a delay. And this was also included with all of those Marvel delays. It's all part of the Disney company. This one, I feel like, was impacted the most. Don't really know why, but I am more so bummed about this one because it is an entire year. So for me, is it bad news or good news? For me personally, selfishly, it's bad news because I have to wait longer, but I do kind of have a feeling that they might actually need that extra time as far as production goes to make that film go well. I don't know why I have that feeling, but I do. Maybe they just need extra time to make sure all the editing, because there's a lot going on from leaks that we've seen. I won't get into those leaks because I don't want to spoil the film for those that want to go into it fresh. Yes, they are. But how do you feel, DJ? Is this good news or bad news for you?
I'm pissed. I'm gonna be honest.
Coming in hot.
I mean, I hate it. I'm actually angry. As soon as I read this, I was just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Listen, I love Indiana Jones so much.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, when Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out, I was going into my freshman year of high school. And for me, nothing would have made me happier in that time period to know Indiana Jones is in theaters. We didn't have 3 years removed from Revenge of the Sith. I love Star Wars, ergo, I love Indiana Jones. And so it's hard to, I've never met anybody who said, I don't like Star Wars and I like Indiana Jones, or vice versa. I've never heard that once from anybody. So for me, I'm mad because I once had an album on my phone. I got rid of it because I actually got annoyed by it. But I had an album on my phone dedicated to the Indiana Jones set leaks. I had all these images of Harrison Ford hanging out with Kathleen Kennedy and Phoebe Waller-Bridge and, all this other stuff. And I'm just like, what? And then last week or 2 weeks ago, all those guys out in Italy were cosplaying Indiana Jones, standing right there with Harrison Ford, dressed as Indiana Jones. I'm like, this is a time. People are always talking about this is the era for comic book movies, or I'm getting on a soapbox, so forgive me. But this is also one of those things, it's a time to be a Star Wars. It's the best time to be a Star Wars fan. This is potentially the last time we can ever truly be fans of Indiana Jones in its purest form. And I'm ticked because Harrison Ford, let's face it, he's an old man.
Yeah.
He doesn't got a lot of steam left in that engine before it's out. And I want to hear that John Williams score in a movie theater, and it just blasts me in the face. I want to see I'm mad, but that's because I love this character so much. I don't want to wait on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just me being a naturally very impatient person. I'm just going to be very honest. I mean, the last thing I'm good at is patience, just truthfully. And the fact that I now am being forced to wait that much longer, a full year, I'm just like, good Lord, like, come on, just what do you have to, I mean, why? And I don't even know why it's delayed. I wrote the notes and I don't even know why it's delayed. It's delayed. I'm like, can Harrison Ford have at least like broken his ankle again like he did in Force Awakens? Like, at least tell us that. Even if it's false. I mean, he did get hurt, which I don't want him to get hurt.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, tell me what happened. Why is this the case? Because you've got fans like me out here and fans like you who would really like to know this information.
Yeah.
And I'm mad. I'm kind of being a hard nose about it, but like, it just bugs the crap out of me that it's been delayed again. And that's how I feel about it. I don't know how else to really put it.
No, I don't blame you. I mean, I want to see Indy 5 as soon as possible. I guess just to be optimistic, it just buys them more time to make sure that it gets done right. Because admittedly,
that's fine.
This is Harrison's last time as Indiana Jones. I don't think he's going to be able to do it again, especially with it being delayed yet again as far as when it's going to release. This is the last time that we're going to see Harrison in that suit, that outfit as Indy. So let's make sure that it's right. I just hope that Harrison Ford's able to enjoy whenever Indiana Jones 5 comes out. Because, like you said, he is kind of getting up there in age. Unfortunately, it seems like every year there's a new original trilogy Star Wars cast member that leaves this life.
Yeah.
Let's not wish anything on anybody, but that's just the truth. And I hope that we're able to get, Indiana Jones deserves, the spotlight. And I hope that moment gets to happen. And I hope everyone involved gets to enjoy it. But, we'll see. I feel like we just got really bummed out, but let's hype this thing back up, man.
Listen, I'm hyped for this movie to the point that I own 2 Indiana Jones-esque fedoras. One I inherited, one I purchased. I almost wore it tonight. Like,
there you go.
And I was going to wear it happily while being upset. Like that should tell you I'm not bipolar. I'm just like, that's where I'm at. And so as hyped as I am, that's why I'm actually so mad this is delayed, is because I'm so hyped for this movie that I'm just like, I'm shaking. For our audio listeners, I'm literally shaking right now. I want to see this movie. So that's why I say I'm mad. I just wanted to hurry up and get here because I'm so excited for it.
I agree.
That's just kind of where I'm at on Indy.
All right. Well, listen, you let us know what you think about Indy 5. DJ, what's next on our other fandom news?
Well, this little video game franchise, you may have heard of it, called Uncharted. First of all, Caleb, have you played this game?
Nope.
I haven't either. We need Horvath. Where's Horvath?
Yeah, we need Zach.
Zach, come over here for a second. If you're jumping the chat, buddy. Anyway,
come on.
Listen, I've never played it. However, this is a very highly anticipated video game adaptation. 9 times out of 10, these look like trash and they're terrible. Nay.
Mm-hmm.
Uncharted gets its first trailer released this last week, and from what I've seen, fans are losing their minds. And I maybe that's why we don't get a No Way Home trailer yet, because they're like, let's let Tom Holland have this for a second, and then we'll hype this thing up later. If that's the case, fine. Oh, wait, when does Uncharted come out?
I can't remember. I want to say it's next year.
Okay, never mind. I had a theory. It's bogus. Moving on. I was going to say, they're going to have the trailer come out with Uncharted, but the movie will already be out by then. That's a dumb thought. Anyway, people are losing their minds over it. I've never played the game. Caleb, you said you never played the game. However, all that aside, do you plan to see this movie?
I mean, eventually, yes. I'm not there yet to be there opening night, if I'm being honest. That trailer, I didn't even, I knew it released, but I didn't rush to go watch the trailer. The first time that I saw the Uncharted trailer when I was watching Dune in the movie theater.
Okay.
I didn't click it as soon as it popped up. It's just cool. I think it's because I don't have any connections to the story, to the video game, and I'm sure, again, maybe me and you both are in the minority here as far as not playing that game, because people talk about it all the time in that space, in that video game space. I don't know. I mean, it's cool. Tom Holland's in it, so I'll eventually watch it. It's okay. It's all right.
This isn't a it's okay, all right thing for me.
Okay.
I'm not gonna see it. I don't think I'm gonna see it opening weekend, but because I saw this trailer having no connection to the video game in any way, I'm hyped on this movie. I like it.
Fair enough.
It's a little Indiana Jones-ish, if we're being honest.
Sure.
And let's really face it, Indy kind of launched this adventurer genre of sorts. So for me, it's similar. So I'm thinking let's dive into this thing, and I'm excited about it because it looks different. And for me, I want to see it. I won't see it opening weekend, but I do want to see this in the theater.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, DJ, you were able to go to the movie theater this past weekend, not to see Dune, but you saw another film, and that film was The Last Duel. So, DJ, why don't you tell us some non-spoiler thoughts on The Last Duel, which, of course, is the most recent film from the likes of Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Adam Driver, and Jodie Comer? Is that how you say it?
Jodie Comer.
Jodie Comer. Okay. Well, DJ, you tell us what you thought of that film.
First of all, Ridley Scott directed. I think this man will be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Director for this movie.
Interesting.
And I'm not somebody who keeps up with Academy stuff. I just don't really look at it until it's that time of year. I saw it with my friend Parker, and while I'm watching it, I leaned over to him at the end of the movie and I said, this movie's going to win an Oscar. And he said, in what way? And I was like, directing. Adam Driver has solidified his role, his chances at Best Actor nominee. Or not Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor. And this movie was told in such a beautiful way. Even though it's a dark movie, first of all, this movie's rated R. I don't think really this is a movie that it has trigger warnings. It doesn't have trigger warnings at the beginning of the movie. I feel like for some people it may and I think sometimes trigger warnings, I can joke about them, but this one, I wouldn't joke about this one. This one has some moments in it that do your research before you watch this movie if you plan on seeing it, because there are moments in it where you're like, oh, didn't know that was going to happen. But all that aside, the movie and the story builds and builds and builds so that the point when you see the duel, which I can assure you is the last duel for somebody, won't say names.
Nice.
It is, wow. It is an incredible piece of cinema, and I think this is Ridley Scott's best film. I've seen a lot of his movies over the last 2 decades, but this is his best film since Gladiator, in my opinion. Gladiator is so good, but the way it builds is so much different than The Last Duel. So as far as non-spoilers go, I'm gonna go, this is an 8.5 to a 9 out of 10, in my opinion.
That's good. That's really
good. This is not a film for just the casual moviegoer. This is a filmmaker's film. This is a film that is meant for people who adore, story and really just story, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful film, and I hope it wins all the awards.
Okay, fair. Well, I mean, personally, I would have been there had me and Maddie not been moving that weekend as far as seeing it on opening weekend, because I was very excited for this, and I still kind of am, but I just haven't had an opportunity to go see this film yet, and it sounds like I definitely need to, listening to DJ's non-spoiler thoughts there.
It's so good.
I mean, anything Adam Driver is in, I expect at this point, outside of Star Wars, anything that Adam Driver is in is always the possibility of him being nominated for a supporting actor award at the Oscars.
And I'll just go ahead and say this. I like this movie more than Dune.
Okay.
I mean, just throwing that out there. Haven't seen both of them, and I don't think it's because I saw The Last Duel in theaters and I saw Dune at home. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I just think that this movie is so solid. and how the choices that were made throughout it. I mean, it's a godsend of a movie. It's so good.
All right, well, that is high praise, and that certainly tells me that I need to go check it out. But speaking of Dune, that is a film that I was able to go check out in the movie theater this past weekend, and I did a reaction video over on YouTube, so check that reaction video out if you have not done so. I went to the movie theater. I was going to shoot some things at the movie theater. My phone died, but I still gave my initial reactions right out of the theater and how I felt about this film. And if I'm being completely honest, and what we're going to do here is me and DJ are actually going to do a special episode of like a Dune spoiler review where we're just open to say whatever, whenever about the movie. But right now, we're not going to get into spoilers. We're just going to talk about it a little bit and tease you up to come back and check out our Dune spoiler review if you've seen that film. But I tell you what, I gave it high praise during my reaction video. I keep thinking about it more and more and more, and I keep loving this movie more and more and more and more. The more I think about it, I'm just so lost in this world. I can't stop thinking about it. I'm addicted to it, if I'm being completely honest. Like, I want more. I watched it in theater. The cinematography, the moment, the feelings, everything is absolutely incredible in that movie theater. And I came home the next day. I gave it a rewatch on HBO Max. Doing both of them, I'm telling you, it's really not comparable.
Really?
In the theater, it's just remarkable as far as the way it looks and the way it feels. I mean, you feel it in your bones, the way that this thing sounds whenever you're just sitting there in that theater. I still equally enjoyed it watching it on HBO Max, don't get me wrong, but I think that's because at that point I had already fallen in love with that theater experience that I had.
That's fair.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I have nothing but positives to say, and if you want to hear me talk more positives about it, come check out our spoiler review that we're going to put out here pretty soon, and just, I'll leave it at that. I can see some negatives. I know some people out there have their negatives with it, and I get it. And I've kind of engaged online with some people that didn't really feel that great about it compared to me. And I think it's great. I think it's great people having differing opinions. And you let me know whatever your opinions are on Dune. DJ, you've seen it on HBO Max.
Yes.
Just to tease our audience to come back and listen to our spoiler thoughts. What do you have to say in general about it?
This movie is one of the greatest cinematic movies I've ever watched. This is coming from somebody, I've seen a lot of movies, and I'm not like a critic, but man, when I worked at that movie theater, worked there for just under 3 years, saw over 140 movies while I worked there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've seen so many movies, and this one, I haven't seen a movie like this. The only one I can even think that compares is Interstellar. And even that is a totally different world. I mean, than this, not story wise. I mean, cinema wise.
Right.
So the filmmaking in this movie was just incredible. And I didn't know that it was going to set up for a sequel. So I'm really glad that I didn't know that before watching it, because I'd have just been waiting the whole time to, pick that apart. So when I first push play and it says Dune Part 1, I'm thinking, wow, there's more? I hope. Like, I haven't heard a confirmation. But
yeah,
and then since watching it, there has been a confirmation. So
right.
But all that to say, come listen to that. Excuse me, I'm trying not to burp into the microphone.
No, you're good.
I apologize. All that to say, this is something I feel like as fans of filmmaking, you and I, Caleb, I think our listeners will really enjoy what we have to say about Dune in a full-on spoiler review, because it was so incredible. It was so incredible.
And you just teased it up perfectly. So I'll just kind of hold off there as far as my thoughts on the film. Come check out our more deeper and great conversation that I'm sure is going to flow as that spice flows in Dune as we talk about this film. There you go. But, you mentioned it. It was released today from Legendary, that Legendary Pictures, that Dune Part 2 is coming. So that's out there regardless if you've seen the film or not. Now you know, and I'm sure you probably had already heard anyway, that a Part 2 is now coming. That has been confirmed. So just to let you know of that, when you go and see it, if you haven't seen it yet, just know there's more coming. So we'll see. But I just really wanted to leave it at that. DJ, do you have any other thoughts, though, about Dune Part 2 before we close out the show?
Just that I'm excited to see more of the characters, you know, that we see toward the end of the movie. I'm excited to see what they do with that. I think it's going to be really a freaking cool sequel. Honestly, I think it's going to be a really good sequel.
Yeah. Okay, man. We gotta talk about this. I can't wait to do our Dune discussion.
We just ended this episode of Geekverse so similarly to how Dune ends. It's like, this is only the beginning.
This is only the beginning, man. This is only the beginning to talk about that film some more. I can't wait. I'm just chomping at the bit to talk about it with somebody, so I can't wait to do that. But that is our Geekverse Reactions episode this week. Man, we had a lot to cover, and we did it in a pretty timely manner, if I'm being completely honest. I'm completely surprised with how on point we were as we hit all those different news pieces. Like, honestly, so much for me to just wrap up. We had, like, the Batman, DC Fandome, Marvel stuff, movies getting delayed, No Way Home speculation and rumors and news and all of this different stuff. Indiana Jones 5, it kind of bummed us out, but then we're back to it being positive as far as Uncharted trailer looking good. And Dune, I feel like was successful, and it sounds like DJ was even more pleased with The Last Duel. So a lot of great things going on in this.
That's not going to be for everybody. I just want to say that's not going to be for everybody. Sure. I just love that movie.
A lot of great things, regardless, though, going on in the Geekverse, in the fandom, across the board, and I can't wait to continue to talk about all of the different stuff some more here on this channel and on our podcast. So subscribe if you're new, or if you're old and you haven't hit that button yet, do it. We would greatly appreciate it. If you're on podcast platforms, leave us a rating, share it, do whatever you got to do to make us get out there, because we're just going to continue to have some more fun with you guys, with each other, and go from there. I'll just leave it at that. DJ, why don't you say your final thoughts and get us out of here for this week's episode?
Thank you for joining us, and we will see you on Earth 2.